I quit my job and nobody warned me that it would feel like this. Have you ever spent years dreaming about quitting your job? You tell yourself, one day I'm going to walk out of here and it's going to be the happiest day of my life. I'll move on to greener pastures. I'll make more money. Whatever the reason may be, you tell yourself these stories about how good it's going to be when you do this. I know I did, and I imagined this huge feeling of freedom, relief, and like I'd finally escaped something that had been draining me. And when I left and moved to this new high paying job that I thought was the pinnacle of my possible future, they did a few different things that ruined it for me. I had a manager that talked to me about my hours during my interview, and I said, "Oh, yeah, that sounds great." And then come to find out 2 weeks later, when I saw that manager again that had hired me, he changed the hours that I was going to work after my 6 month training period, and it would enforce that I wouldn't see my fiance but for 10 to 15 hours every week, which to me is not worth it. I'm with my fiance to be with my fiance. I want to spend as much time as possible home with her, doing whatever it is that we might need to be doing, or relaxing with her. It's the only time that I ever feel peace, is being at home and with my fiance. So when a scenario like that happened, I got angry, I got upset, and I informed my fiance. And after we discussed it, about a month later, I was going to put in my 2 week notice and I was leaving. And that's what happened. But after I left, I felt even worse than I had from the issues that I had working at the job. And possibility of making the money that I was making was amazing. The opportunity that I had was amazing. And after I quit and I left, I felt horrible about the decision. The second that I went to the next job after my 2 week notice ended, I contacted my manager at the old place, tried to see about going back, and he ghosted me. He didn't reply to my voicemail. He didn't reply to my text message. And I can get not being able to go back in the same capacity maybe, but he could have responded even if it was a no, but I got nothing, absolutely nothing. And it's infuriating because part of the reason that I left was that he lied to me during my interview and then changed the hours that I was working multiple times throughout my 2 month tenure at this place, right? There was other problems with the job as well. The area that I got put into did not have a pre-existing person that was doing my job. So I got put into this area alone, and I couldn't learn from somebody whose role it was to do my job. That's asinine. It doesn't make any sense that that would be the way that they would handle that. But that's what happened. And so I had to work with an engineer that was in the cubicle area that I was in, who was filling in for somebody else that was gone and who never came back. So I learned from this engineer who was, I think, 24 years old, and she had only been in that job for 1 year, and she got it straight out of college, and she told me that it's the only job that she had ever worked. So I came in and was put with this engineer who was disgruntled about the job, and come to find out, when I put in my 2 week notice, she told me that I'm quitting in a month and I'm going to go back to school and become a school teacher because I hate it here and I hate the managers and blah blah blah. So she made it hell for me without even realizing it. I think she didn't do it maliciously, I don't think, but it ruined the job for me. The whole scenario, I'd go in and I'd just feel extreme anxiety all day long. But anyway, I left that, tried to go to another place. I showed up for the first week and realized that they were worse off than the company that I had just quit. So I didn't show up the second week. That was supposed to be the better option. So now I've gone back to the construction job that I had prior to getting that, golden throne scenario job. And I feel helpless and hopeless and guilty and extremely anxious about my future and about any possibility of being okay again or ever getting an opportunity like that again in the future. That role was mainly operating Excel. You would get in and you'd prep a bunch of worksheets in Excel, go through all of these documents and charts and spreadsheets and manipulate data, take notes about everything that's going wrong, everything that might cause issues in production. And then after that, you'd have a meeting with your team where you'd basically be informing management of any issues in your area and what's being done to solve it. And that's about it. That's kind of the whole job. And so it's pretty chill after you know what you're doing. The problem is when you get thrown in after having been a construction worker and now you're an analyst in a factory, and they don't put you with somebody to train you for the role and knows how to do the role because it's their sole job at this company to do that role. Instead, they put you with a disgruntled employee engineer that has only had one job in their life for 1 year, and it's that job. Terrible scenario. When I left, I questioned if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life, and I really do feel like I have. I'm back to feeling like I'm nothing, working a low-level manual labor construction job, barely making enough money to feed myself, pay rent and bills, and my debt. I have a bachelor's degree, but it's been useless to me. I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube pertaining to not necessarily the exact same scenario, but people who quit their jobs out of frustration, or for their own mental health. And I'd say part of that was my reasoning, but I truly feel like I just should not have left no matter what because of the money. When you quit a job, especially if you have nothing lined up, the next morning nobody tells you what happened. When the alarm doesn't go off, when the phone's quiet, when you realize your identity has been wrapped up in your job more than you ever admitted, you feel one of two ways: calm or in complete panic. And I woke up in complete panic mode after I quit. And I don't know if I should feel that way. When I was younger, I would quit a job without a second thought. If I didn't feel like it was a good place to be, or I didn't feel like it was a good opportunity for me, I would dip right out. There was multiple jobs where I showed up. One place I quit on the first day because it was a factory and it was 12-hour shifts and it was obvious that they treat you like cattle. I am not into working like that. I've done it before and I don't want to do any of that again. And here I am, still halfway through my life, or nearly halfway through my life. We'll see, you never know. But I'm a construction worker for a municipality. I work outside for 10 hours every day and in all weather conditions, and I don't get paid well enough to live for it. And I don't know what to do. It's honestly the best thing that I've had up until that job that I went to for 2 months and then quit. I thought that I had a dream job and that everything was going to work out. But as soon as I got in, I cannibalized myself because I let people get to me, the coworkers, and I didn't want to deal with the company and the managers owning you. There would be times where mandatory overtime would happen. They'd want something done, and you stay as long as it takes to finish whatever needs to be done for management. And I don't like that. Obviously I don't like that. Money is great, but I also want to live. I want to have some kind of life. And so I let it get to me. And I quit because I got angry about being jerked around by management and about the way that my start in that company and that role came about. And I can't believe that I did that in this economy. The economy is so bad, and applying for jobs is terrible. I had applied and applied and applied for the span of that year and a half and had no return until that time. And I should have stayed only if because of that factor. But I still didn't. I still got angry and then put in my 2-week notice and quit. You'll hear headlines talking about layoffs, hiring freezes, and companies asking people to do twice as much work with half the staff. That was part of my problem as well. Not twice as much work, but the way that I was hired was that I was going to then be put on a swing shift after I learned what I was doing, and I was going to do the job of 3 different people. So I would learn 3 areas when all of the other people that are already working there that have my job, they are in one area, have learned one thing, and that's all that they do. So I got upset about that as well. The whole point was that they're hiring these new people and they're going to make them do 3 people's jobs or do the work of 3 individuals, right? You're going to have to learn 3 times the amount of information that the other people know how to do. And then you're going to have to do whatever we need you to do whenever we tell you to do it. And you're going to bark when we say bark and jump when we say jump. And that's infuriating. But eventually I reached a point where I couldn't keep trading my mental energy and anger to I couldn't control it anymore. I couldn't control my anger and how upset I was with this company and how the management operated and how the facility operated and how the coworkers were all angry and bitter and resentful, it seemed. Like nobody was okay with being there. Everybody was stressed out, and it impacts everybody else. It rubs off on you. Even if they're pretending to be okay, it was terrible. It's insane. And I've been working construction for the last year and a half, and at the time, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I would rather go back and destroy my body for 1/3 less money per hour than this place gives me, just for the peace of mind of not having to deal with these people anymore, and the way that this place operates. And that is crazy, because money-wise, I did have the opportunity for future success. The job title, just if I worked there for a few years and left and went somewhere else, that job title and the company name behind the job title would have given me something. And that's what I should have been focused on, and I should have ignored everything else, because that would have made my resume. But now I have, what am I going to throw on there? I worked at this really good company for 2 months and quit and went back to being a construction worker. My resume is now insane, and I don't think any HR person is going to look at that and be like, oh yeah, this guy is going to be great. I might get automatically thrown in the trash because I job hopped, basically. I don't know. But after I made the decision and gave my notice, I ended up leaving. I felt really good in the moment about leaving. There's nothing like that feeling when you're leaving. But right after that, the excitement faded. I headed home, and everything felt horrible after the giddiness and the adrenaline ran out. And now, the worst thing that I feel is guilt, right? I'm in a relationship with my fiance. I should have done it for her. I don't have kids. We have a couple pets, but they're fine. And so I should have been more committed to it just because of my fiance. Because I feel like her parents probably view me as an idiot for quitting this high-paying job and going back to being a construction worker. And I can't fault them for that, but they're not me. They're not in that situation. They didn't see the things that I did and interact with the people in the way that I did, And so I feel this horrible feeling of guilt, and it's been tearing me apart for the last month. But in a week or 2, I should be starting back at my old basic entry-level construction job. So we'll see how that goes. Good luck out there.